Under the Wild West's dusty tumbleweeds and bullet echoes, a distinct vice thrived behind the gilded doors of bustling brothels. In a period of lawlessness, these establishments of ill repute carved out an infamous niche on the frontier. Let's find out how the ladies, clad in silk gloves and wielding iron fists, navigated a lurid past that molded the Wild West into the desirable yet dangerous frontier. Here is the horrific truth about brothels during the Wild West. The rise of nighttime establishments in the Wild West from the mid to late 19th century was an intriguing sociological phenomenon. This turbulent era, known as the Wild West, saw the growth of enterprises run by powerful women known as madams. These enterprises, known as brothels or more romantically, houses of nighttime entertainment, served as gathering spots for tired travelers, miners, and frontiersmen alike. The emergence of these enterprises can be attributed to a combination of historical events and social circumstances. The critical gold rush that began in California in 1848 played an important effect, attracting a flood of primarily male prospectors looking for money. This presented an opportunity for institutions to cater to the prospectors' seclusion and loneliness. Artoy, a Cantonese-born American madam, was a pioneer in this profession, opening her institution in San Francisco in 1849 to cater to the city's growing population of fortune seekers. Simultaneously, the Homestead Act of 1862 sparked a large wave of migration, with pioneers heading west. This led to the development of boom towns, which frequently lacked established societal structures, producing a climate conducive to the emergence of evening enterprises. Houses of evening entertainment thrived in this unregulated atmosphere, capturing the frontier spirit of the untamed West. Behind closed doors. In the Wild West, the evening houses provided a captivating picture of life behind closed doors. This society, which was frequently misinterpreted, exhibited a rich tapestry of individuals and routines, providing a glimpse into the dynamic complexity that existed within. The rhythms of a normal day at these establishments were heavily influenced by their nocturnal operations. As the sun fell below the horizon, these cottages came to life, ready to welcome visitors seeking solace and friendship. The acclaimed madam was in charge of these institutions, and her function went beyond that of a normal proprietor. Fanny Porter, a reputable madam from San Antonio, Texas, showed this character. Fanny was well known for keeping her house clean and welcoming, and she maintained rigorous rules of conduct that required clients to treat the ladies with decency and respect. Her establishment was packed with a variety of roles, from musicians offering a symphony of melodies to set the mood to bartenders preparing robust brews to alleviate tensions, and of course the ladies of the evening, who were the heart and soul of the establishment. Life in these residences was characterized by both companionship and competition. Despite sharing space and frequently being perceived as rivals, the ladies of the night created deep relationships of sisterhood. Communal living circumstances and similar experiences generated ties that went beyond professional ones. This spirit of solidarity was obvious in the account of Belle Brazier of Lexington, Kentucky, who, after taking over an evening home from her dying friend, improved the ladies' standard of living. Unlike the chaotic scenes outside, these restaurants maintained a certain level of decorum. Patrons were supposed to be nice and respect the boundaries established by the ladies. Madams frequently had a set of house rules that patrons were expected to follow in order to preserve a civilized environment amidst the untamed frontier towns. The ladies' well-being was a top focus for the house, with regular visits by doctors confirming their health and offering some protection from illnesses common at the time. Madame Dora Dufresne of Deadwood, South Dakota, was well known for her efforts to ensure the health and safety of the females under her care. Daily life in these nighttime places was enlivened by moments of levity and fun. Laughter resonated from well-told jokes. Cheers erupted for a lady doing a popular dance, and applause rang out for a patron demonstrating his talent on the piano. Different origins. These women, the ladies of the night, came from a variety of origins, each with a distinct path that stretched far beyond the bounds of the homes they grace. Big Nose Kate, whose real name is Mary Catherine Horney, was an enduring legend among these women. Kate was well known for her affiliation with the iconic gunslinger Doc Holliday. Her journey began in Hungary when she lost both of her parents at an early age. Kate's stormy relationship with Holliday became part of Wild West history, and despite her exciting youth, she spent her final years quietly in Arizona before passing away at 1940. In stark contrast, Ah Toy's voyage from China to California during the gold rush in the 1850s is riveting. Faced with a language barrier and racial prejudice, Ah Toy negotiated the turbulent world of San Francisco's courts and streets, eventually becoming one of the city's most well-known ladies of the evening. Contrary to popular opinion, the decision to enter the trade was not always taken under pressure. For some, such as Fanny Porter, who managed one of the most successful houses in San Antonio, Texas, it represented a chance for financial independence, a powerful allure in a world where women's options were sometimes limited. Fanny began as a lady of the night and rose to become one of the most well-known madams in the West. Life after leaving the houses was a diverse experience for these ladies. Elena Dumont, known as Madame Mustache due to her distinctive facial features, began running a gaming parlor. Others found a way to fully remake themselves, as seen by Laura Evans, who went from being a lady of the night in her teens to becoming a successful businesswoman, running a boarding house and working for women's rights and welfare in her prior profession. Soiled doves. In the epic story of the Old West, the so-called soiled doves were an important thread sewn into the fabric of frontier settlements. These ladies of the evening, who were frequently misunderstood and marginalized, provided solace and companionship to the weary and lonely, carving out a living among the dust and dreams of the Wild West. In the rowdy saloons and raucous gaming rooms, the women of the evening, sometimes known as soiled doves, stood as emblems of survival and defiance. Their existence was frowned upon, but their skills were in high demand, creating a conundrum as complicated as the era itself. One of the most well-known of these ladies was Chicago Jo Hensley, an Englishwoman who landed in Helena, Montana, during the 1860s gold rush. From being a lady of the evening to owning many venues, Chicago Jo displayed resilience and entrepreneurial prowess, contributing to the town's thriving economy. At best, society had mixed feelings about these women. Despite providing companionship, they were frequently stigmatized, with their vocation viewed as a necessary evil. Placed in restricted zones away from respectable parts of town, they were integrated into the social fabric, their presence recognized and their functions recognized. The route of a soiled dove was paved with several difficulties, including the chance of violence from irate customers and the continual fear of sickness. They endured the brunt of social ostracism, yet they kept their heads high, overcoming obstacles with courage and perseverance. Diamond Jessie Heyman, a famous soiled dove, summed up their struggle in this quote, "We are not the dregs of society, but the women who defy it." Diamond Jessie's story is one such example. After winning a fortune in the Klondike Gold Rush, she became a philanthropist, spending her wealth to aid those in need. These women represented the spirit of the Wild West, forging their own paths while navigating the laws and prejudices of a society that both needed and scorned them. In the immortal words of Diamond Jessie, "We, the soiled doves, are not just the night's companions. We are its custodians, its secret keepers, and in many ways its heart, unseen shadows." Change in dressing. As the curtain rises on another chapter of the Wild West's rich record, we come across an aspect that, while unfamiliar, possesses its own intrinsic intrigue. This is the story of the gentlemen who dressed as ladies, blurring the barriers between genders inside the constraints of the Western brothel. They were performers in a frontier drama, with roles that were both strange and intriguing. One of the first occurrences of this technique was observed in 1849, during the frenzy of San Francisco's gold rush. Loneliness and the desire for companionship developed a distinct niche in a world where men outnumbered women. Men, often with softer features or talent for performance, assumed feminine personas, not out of deception, but to provide a semblance of feminine companionship to lonely miners and adventurers. Squinted Sue, an intriguing character, posed as a lady of the evening at the El Dorado Saloon, providing patrons with peace and entertainment. Squinted Sue's life shows the adaptability of societal standards in the Wild West, when survival and resourcefulness frequently crossed traditional bounds. These individuals did not only adopt female dress, they frequently embraced their personalities with a level of passion that transcended beyond the confines of the establishment. Many people blended into the community, taking part in local festivities and festivals. Fernando, a popular personality in Virginia City, Nevada in the late 1860s, was known for his convincing impersonation of feminine grace and charm, becoming a fixture at community gatherings. While the majority of males who followed this practice were motivated by the chance of employment, others did so for personal reasons. Jean Bonnet, a French immigrant in the 1870s who was biologically female but often dressed and lived as a man, defied society's standards not only through his wardrobe, but also by his efforts to help the ladies of the evening escape their fate. Societal impact. These brothels, whose influence infiltrated not just the lavish boudoirs within their walls, but also the broader society and economics of the time, were true lifelines for many villages, serving as pillars around which embryonic communities began to thrive. The gold rush of 1849 served as a catalyst, bringing hundreds of men to the West in search of money and a new beginning. Among them were the ladies of the night, who saw an opportunity to carve out a profitable niche despite the paucity of women in these boom towns. A striking example occurred in Virginia City, Nevada, during the Comstock Lode silver strike of the 1850s. Julia Bulette, a well-known madam, ran a profitable establishment that was among the wealthiest in town. Her sumptuous parlor demonstrated the economic potential of such businesses, which contributed greatly to the city's prosperity. Running a brothel in the Old West was an expensive business, and running a parlor house needed an even larger financial investment. Prostitution, which was mostly illegal at the time, required madams to pay regular monthly fines and fees to keep their businesses open. The requirement to obtain liquor licenses posed an additional hurdle for brothels that served alcohol. Interestingly, the skin trade benefited a variety of local companies, including booze dealers, food stores, furniture stores, dressmakers, music stores, pharmacies, and doctors. Madam Rachel Urban of Park City, Utah, was proud of this element of her business. When faced with attempts to close down the red light area, she approached a local mine supervisor strategically. Urban believed that, without her services, workers would seek companionship elsewhere, resulting in higher absenteeism and lower mining productivity. Her efforts were successful, and the red light district continued to serve as an important social hub. During the Depression, Madam Lou Graham used her financial resources to serve the community in Seattle. Graham helped to save respectable businesses and banks by demonstrating how Madam's influence spread beyond the bounds of their institutions, legal and health concerns. The tales of the Wild West were weaved with aspects of both romance and challenge, and the peculiar businesses of the night, fondly referred to as the nightly nests, were no different. These enterprises existed in a strange duality, straddling the line between legality, law enforcement, and the often overlooked domain of health issues. The legality of brothels in the Wild West varied greatly between jurisdictions, reflecting the general attitude of law enforcement. They operated almost openly in areas such as San Francisco during the gold rush of the 1850s, adding greatly to the city's earnings. However, in places like Cheyenne, Wyoming, their existence was shrouded in semi-legality, with law enforcement occasionally turning a blind eye out of need or personal profit. Sheriff Seth Bullock of Deadwood, Dakota Territory was noted for his unusual strategy, which allowed these businesses to operate due to their large economic contributions. The health environment within these nocturnal nests was frequently neglected and viewed as an unavoidable risk to the enterprise. Many women working in these institutions were familiar with typical diseases linked with their occupation, which were compounded by close living quarters and a lack of understanding about disease transmission. Despite these obstacles, some madams, like Colorado's Maddie Silks, take the initiative to reduce health hazards by offering basic healthcare services and education to the women they employ. In her 1888 publication, The Silent Sorrows, Dr. Linda King provides a glimpse into the world of health issues in brothels, recognizing the brutal reality masked by the gentle light of the parlor and the mute courage of the ladies of the night. Many madams' acts reflected these women's perseverance and inventiveness as they strove to combine their commercial interests with the well-being of their subordinates. A historical occurrence in Tombstone, Arizona, in the 1880s demonstrated the junction of legal and health concerns. Big Nose Kate Elder, a famous madam and companion to the infamous gunman Doc Holliday, experienced a syphilis outbreak in her brothel. Elder, disregarding local law enforcement who tended to dismiss such health issues, decided to temporarily close her company and seek medical attention for her ladies. This strong stance received widespread attention, raising awareness about health risks in brothels and indirectly helping to a shift in society's views towards them. Ethnicities. Far from being a monolithic entity, the Wild West's nocturnal enterprises constituted a complex and diversified tapestry of civilizations, bringing together threads from all over the world. Women of Chinese, African American, Native American, and Latino heritage introduced their distinct cultural contributions to the nightlife canvas, changing the landscape of the Wild West in a variety of ways. During the Gold Rush era in the mid-19th century, there was a considerable influx of Chinese immigrants to the United States, with many ladies frequenting nightclubs. African American women seeking chances within a racially stratified society also put their mark on the twilight parlors. Mary Ellen Pleasant, aka Mammy Pleasant, arrived in Gold Rush-era San Francisco and became a successful entrepreneur. She used her riches to work for civil rights, and while her relationship with the world of nightclubs is debatable, her tale is an important part of the larger story of African American women negotiating societal hurdles during this era. Native American women were likewise tightly intertwined into the cultural tapestry. Among their stories, La Tules, a Mexican-American woman of possibly Native American ancestry, stands out. Born Maria Gertrudis Barcelo, she ran one of the most famous parlors in Santa Fe, New Mexico, in the mid-1800s. As a savvy gambler, she used her fortune to influence local politics, contributing to the frontier's cultural fusion. The Latina women of the night had an indelible impression on the age, and Lola Montes, a famous dancer of mixed Irish and Spanish ancestry, was a standout figure who crossed boundaries. Despite not being a lady of the night, her daring acts and scandalous romances drew parallels with the parlor narrative. Lola Montes, known for her daring spider dance, brought an exotic twist to the night's tableau, pushing the bounds of courtship norms and contributing to the Wild West's diverse cultural history. Madam's married clients. One of the most alluring features of being an upper echelon madam in the Wild West was the chance to meet wealthy patrons who frequented their parlors. This peculiar junction of social strata occasionally resulted in weddings between madams and otherwise respectable men. Such marriage had numerous goals, including providing legal protection and raising the madam's reputations to that of respectable wives. A notable example is Wyatt Earp, a famed lawman who, according to legends of America, was the common-law spouse of prostitute Maddie Blaylock before marrying Josephine Marcus. These ties not only provided personal bonds, but also served as a protective shield against legal issues, leveraging the well-regarded husband's societal stature. In Arizona, Madame Gabrielle Dolly Wiley carefully got into many marriages, selecting partners who could help her with her business. This strategy enabled her to negotiate the challenges of her job, while benefiting from the protective cover provided by influential spouses. According to Trivia Library, San Francisco's renowned Madame Tessie Wall went above and above in her matrimonial considerations, making a conscious effort to marry Frank DeRue, one of her investors. Though their marriage was not always pleasant, DeRue was instrumental in protecting Wall from the dangers of the underground. Despite societal conventions that oppose such relationships, certain men frequently managed to keep their illegitimate spouses hidden from public view. The relationship between madams and their well-connected husbands can be volatile, as evidenced in Tessie Wall's case, even though they eventually split. With Wall going so far as to shoot Daru and claim it was an act of love, these relationships highlighted the complexities of emotions and loyalty in such unorthodox marriages. Daru survived the encounter, highlighting the tragic nature of their personal relationships. Maddie Silks. Maddie Silks, a well-known madam of the Wild West, had an unforgettable effect on Denver. Maddie entered the profession at an early age, taking on the role of a madam when she was only 19. Her career took her to several cities, including brothels in Springfield, Dodge City, and Georgetown, before settling in Denver. Maddie became well known not just for her engagement in the industry, but also for her business acumen. A true entrepreneur, she became well known for her inventive marketing methods, which included organizing elaborate parades to highlight the ladies she employed. Her efforts paid off, with the Market Street brothel becoming popular, second only to the famed House of Mirrors in 1898. Undeterred by competition, Maddie continued to operate competitively, eventually purchasing the House of Mirrors in 1909 after the owner passed away. One fascinating aspect of Maddie Silks' history is the fabled duel she had with Kate Fulton, a rival brothel owner. Yes, it was a genuine combat between two women, a memorable moment in Wild West history. The folklore depicts a violent fight not only for corporate dominance, but also for Maddie's lover, Court Thompson. As tensions rose, the two women agreed to settle their differences in a duel. Although both guns missed their intended targets, Court was hit accidentally by a bullet fired by Maddie. Julia Boulette. At the center of Madame Julia Boulette's reputation is a compelling story that depicts her as a popular character in the mining town of Virginia City, Nevada. In a spectacular display of admiration, male citizens proclaimed her the Queen of the 4th of July Parade in 1861. This coveted honor placed her atop the town's brand new fire engine, an appropriate gesture given her status as an honorary member of the fire department. Even during her existence, Julia's story was steeped in mystery, driven by rumors and stories. While original reports stated she was from England, researchers now believe she was actually born in Mississippi. The specifics of her early life are unknown, but historical records show that she arrived in Virginia City shortly after the discovery of the Comstock lode, when she stood out as one of the few single women. It is assumed that she came to the city with the intention of adopting the sporting life, and her friendly demeanor rapidly charmed her to the men of the neighborhood. Julia's fame extends beyond her work in the red light district, with stories of her actively partaking in firefighting, assisting the sick, and providing shelter for the poor. Julia rose to prominence after opening her own establishment in the city's red light area. Her business grew rapidly, competing hard with the greatest businesses in town. Her wild popularity and success proved her abilities as a madam, cementing her reputation as a respected and important lady in Virginia City. Julia's life took a tragic turn in 1867 when she was the victim of a violent attack. Her intruder took her life and left with her possessions, leaving the city in shock. The news of her sudden demise rippled across Virginia City, and her funeral attracted hundreds of mourners, demonstrating the community's tremendous respect and affection for her. Julia Boulette's sudden demise is still an intriguing subject of study for anyone captivated by the enigmatic and turbulent Wild West era, highlighting the lasting impact of a brilliant lady who left an indelible stamp on history. Belle Brazier. Belle Brazier, a woman who experienced difficulties from the start, traversed a difficult lifestyle with tenacity and resourcefulness, improving her life despite awful conditions and restricted opportunities. Belle was born in 1860 in Lexington, Kentucky, to Sarah Ann Cox, a struggling mother. Her early years were defined by a turbulent home life. Sarah married George Brazier, an alcoholic who later abandoned the family, leaving Sarah to support herself and her daughter. Sarah did whatever it took to make ends meet while working part-time as a dressmaker and part-time as a prostitute. Belle's adolescence was marked by a complex love triangle that ended tragically, with one man dead, another on the run, and Belle pregnant. Despite marrying the father, She became disillusioned and ensnared in a web of complexity. Belle continued to live with her mother after giving birth to her kid, only to endure additional hardship when Sarah passed away a few months later, prompting the landlord to confiscate their home. Faced with these problems, Belle decided to join the industry. Her rise in the local market was quick, and she worked in a brothel housed in one of Mary Todd Lincoln's former homes. Belle quickly established herself as one of the Wild West's most well-known madams. When she went out on her own, she built a dedicated clientele that not only used her services, but also invested in her multiple brothels. Belle's facilities were recognized for their orderliness despite the nature of their business, earning her the nickname the most orderly of the disorderly houses. Belle's financial success was due to her smart business acumen, as she allowed her employees to keep the majority of their salaries while profiting from the sale of spirits, notably the finest champagne available. Her influence spanned multiple brothels, cementing her reputation as a prominent figure in the trade. Belle's outlets in Kentucky were forced to close due to prohibition. Despite the difficulties, she remained in the last brothel she ran, suffering from morphine addiction and uterine cancer, which were most likely related. At her peak, Belle was known as the quintessential lady of the night with a golden heart, actively supporting local charities and embodying a complicated story of survival and triumph in the face of hardship. Her narrative is a tribute to the tenacity of people who carve their own paths in the harsh environments of the Wild West. Dwindling days. The Western bordellos signaled the end of an era, casting lengthy shadows over once prominent places with almost mythical status in the Wild West. Their decline, like the ever-changing wheel of time, was caused by the interwoven threads of societal change, governmental action, and evolving economic factors. As the 20th century progressed, the winds of social change began to whisper through the dusty streets of the West. The Victorian era, with its strict morality and restrictive attitudes towards romance, gave way to the Progressive era. Influential women like Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony took the stage, relentlessly advocating for women's rights and shaping popular perceptions of the ladies of the night. The successful women's suffrage movement was essential in changing society's perceptions of women's independence and acceptability. Simultaneously, a surge in legislative activity helped to the fall of the nocturnal nests. Catherine Beaumont Davis, Chicago's vice commissioner, rose to prominence as the leader of the charge. Under her direction, the commission issued a report in 1911, sparking a statewide crackdown on brothels. Davis's passion reflected rising public scorn for these institutions, which culminated in the passage of the Mann Act in 1910, a federal statute intended to prevent compelled labor in the commercial industry, but with far-reaching consequences for brothels. Economic factors also had a big impact on the final years of the Wild West brothel era. The discovery of gold in Alaska in 1896 caused a population change, as fortune seekers relocated further north, reducing the customers for many Western brothels. Furthermore, the start of the Great Depression in the late 1920s rendered potential customers impoverished, dealing a devastating blow to the sector. The story of Chicago. Jo Hensley, a well-known madam from Helena, Montana, is representative of these shifts. Her once thriving business began to sputter due to governmental challenges, societal change, and declining fortune seekers. Chicago Jo, formerly a key person in Helena's town, saw her once opulent business fade into oblivion, mirroring the difficulties faced by many madams during this turbulent time. However, the lowering sun did not mark the end of these establishments, but rather a transition to a new state of existence. While the traditional brothel era came to an end, its echoes resounded throughout history, subtly intertwining with the fabric of modern society. In some sections of Nevada, licensed businesses like these still continue to operate today. We hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you in the next one.